Bruce Arians, the coach of the Buccaneers, has been making the rounds, and one of the things that came up yesterday, there were some in the media that got smitten with this idea that once Tom Brady agrees to terms with the Buccaneers, it's going to be like an NBA team where all these free agents flock to Tampa to be with Tom Brady, and it really hasn't happened. I mean, like Joe Haeg, there haven't been a lot of free agents who have chosen the Buccaneers in the past week. One of the things Arians said yesterday, we had some guys call, but there's only so much money that can go around. And look, I just don't know that there's a laundry list of great players out there that can say, hey, I want to go play with Tom Brady. And I think the key is just keeping the guys that you like and you believe in, like an Ndamukong Suh, and project forward how he's going to perform with Tom Brady there. So I don't know how much of that we're going to see. Now, look, there's a chance some players will get cut. You know, that happens. Recognizable names get released all the time, and maybe some of those guys will try to make a beeline to Tampa Bay. But there's cash issues, salary cap issues. We have to remember those as we go forward. Chris, I mean, look, I don't know that it really matters. I don't know how quickly you can mash together a team of superstars and have it work anyway. I kind of like the Buccaneers having the continuity, having the guys they know, having the guys they like, and plugging in a guy that they think is going to elevate the players that they're already comfortable with.
Yeah, I think they got to recognize that. You're right. I mean, first off, the team has talent. You know, like we saw last year, they could have been a pain in the butt if Jameis Winston, didn't have a few games where, he cost them wins, and he was a big reason of why they lost. But yeah, I do. I think, Tom Brady's kind of the finishing touch, he's the icing on the top of the cake here, as far as kind of just bringing everything together for kind of a young, immature team that doesn't know how to win. And hey, the head coach can only lead so much. You need guys like this. But yeah, Mike, I don't expect like big time superstars. I don't think Jadeveon Clowney is going to call down to Tampa and be like, hey, I'll play for $5 million less just to play with Tom Brady. No, he might want to play with Tom Brady, but he's not crazy and he's not going to do that. So yeah, there is only so much money to go around. To me, the signings you might see as we get a little later in free agency is some veterans who might be in that. I can't, like, AKA like a Ben Watson, who I know retired, but that type of guy in theory, where I'm just saying it's the end of his career, all right, and he's got offers for a few teams, and he might take a few $100,000 less or $1 million less to say, you know what, I want to enjoy my last year or two of my career. I'm going to go to Tampa Bay and take a shot with Tom Brady and see how it works out. To me, those are the type of guys I could see kind of signing on here later on in free agency.
And there's been some fascination about Rob Gronkowski possibly coming out of retirement to join Tom Brady. They have O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate. They don't really need Gronk. And he still continues to be the property contractually of the New England Patriots. He's on their reserve retired list. They'd have to let him go before he could go to Tampa Bay. And who knows, maybe the Buccaneers would have to give something up to get Gronk if it even comes to that. But there hasn't been any serious talk along those lines. Another thing that Bruce Arians said yesterday, Chris, that caught my attention. He said that the perception that Tom Brady can't throw the deep ball is just wrong. Who has the perception that Tom Brady can't throw the deep ball?
Well, yeah, I understand what he's saying a little bit. I was a big proponent like 3, 4, 5 years ago of, man, Tom Brady's one of the worst deep ball throwers in football. That's what they did that year. That was the year they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo in the second round. Because they thought, New England thought, man, maybe it's coming to the end for Tom Brady. They didn't draft Jimmy Garoppolo because they were like, hey, let's let him sit on the bench for the next 6 years and we'll trade him somewhere. No, they were worried about Brady's play. So they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo because they were worried. And Brady, when I was working there, was one of the worst deep ball throwers in football. And it was something that was constantly being worked on.
From an accuracy standpoint or an arm strength standpoint? Because
no,
from an accurate his arm strength.
No, exactly right. His arm strength is top notch. It's underrated as far as where Tom Brady's arm strength is. But he became such a machine. He's so accurate. He's such a good decision maker. I think he just was a little bit trying to force the issue of the intermediate down the middle to Gronkowski, Edelman over the middle, Wes Welker. And there was just opportunities on the outside to throw the ball down the field, which New England was trying to kind of break him out of that shell, out of that mold to go, hey, force the ball down the field. We can't always get Welker and Edelman over the middle of the field. He's gotten better. And the last 2 years, he's been much better. And I do think with a guy like Mike Evans, we're talking about Tom Brady. He's a precision passer in a lot of ways, too. He doesn't want to just throw deep balls up all the time. But Now, when you have a guy like Mike Evans, this is where I go back and I go, whoa, when we might see Brady of like 2007 with Randy Moss, Evans is a huge guy, huge catch radius, can jump high, can 50-50 balls. That takes pressure off Brady, too, from having to throw pinpoint accurate deep balls. He can just throw it up and go, hey, 6'5", freak of nature, respectfully, freak of nature, Tim Evans, go up, beast that guy, catch the ball. And I think with that, and seeing his size and physicality, and then a Bruce Arians in his ear all the time, like, yeah, boy, Tommy, keep throwing it deep, and yeah, that's great. And I think those things will encourage Brady to even get better at throwing the deep ball because of what's around him.
Well, I don't know what Tim Evans can do, but I know Mike Evans can go grab the ball
Oh,
if it gets
sorry.
thrown deep to him by. That's all right. But
Tim Evans is my
look,
psychologist, Mike, just so you know. It's Tim Evans.
all right. Okay. I don't know. Maybe he can catch the deep ball as well. So, and I think you've touched on something here that we need to flesh out a little bit more. This is about Tom Brady not having the weapons in the past that he can trust, that have the catch radius. If you've got a guy where you have to thread the needle 50 yards down the field, you're just not going to throw the ball. And this isn't quite, and you talk about the politics of quarterbacking where you don't want your stat sheet to look ugly because you have a bunch of interceptions on balls where you threw it deep and your receiver can't go catch it and the other guy does. It's about the trust level that he needs to have in his receivers. And we hear about it all the time. He needs to have that degree where he trusts them to make the catch. And if they don't have the downfield skills, he's not going to trust them. He's not going to throw it. I don't think it's an issue of him not being able to. It's an issue of him not having the weapons he feels good about to do it. And he will in Tampa.
He will in Tampa. There's no doubt. But, Mike, I agree with you. I think there is a lot of that. There's no doubt about it. You know, throwing a deep ball to a receiver, there's two things that you need there in the trust tree, all right? One, yeah, you want the guy to catch the ball. Two, you got to trust the guy that if you do throw the ball poorly, he'll do a good job to break it up and not let it become an interception. And that is part of being in the trust tree with a great quarterback, too, that, hey, I'll give you a chance on 50-50 balls, but either you catch it or nobody catches it. And if that doesn't happen, then, you know, don't expect me to keep throwing you balls deep down the field.
Yeah, it can't be 50-50. You catch it or he catches it. It's got to be 50-50. You catch it or no one catches it. And that's when the chance will be taken.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.